What's up everybody, and thank you for joining me for another video. My name is Whack4863, but you can call me Whack. In today's video, I'm going to cover the patch notes for update 2.4. Now this is only going to PC right now, but eventually it will come to console as well. Now a lot of the stuff in the patch notes is SIPTA specific, and I'm going to be real honest with you guys, I've been skipping everything SIPTA right now because one, it doesn't bring as much views as if I just cover Conan Exiles in general, and then two, I feel like there's been so much changing with the Isle of SIPTA that I could do a guide today and that guide could be outdated next week. That being said, guides that I have done on SIPTA, all but one video that I did on SIPTA is all out to date, and I need to go back and outdate those. So jumping right into it, these are changes that are going to affect both Conan Exiles in the Exiled Lands and Conan Exiles in the Isle of SIPTA, and here we go. So we have a new avatar. The name of that avatar is Zeth. It is a very ugly, creepy, and yeah, just super creepy spider creature. It's humongous. It does creepy things. If you've got arachnophobia, stay away from this thing. It's super creepy, but it is in both the Exiled Lands and the Isle of SIPTA. Now, when I say it's in the Exiled Lands, there's two ways that I know that you can get this particular religion in the Exiled Lands. One is make a new character and have that be your religion starting out. Or two, you need to spend the points, the feat points, to unlock it under your feats. I do not know where you can learn this religion on the map, if that's even a thing right now. If you've found it on the map, let me know in the comment section below so I can make a video and get the information out there right away. The Wheel of Pain has received a visual overhaul. This is absolutely awesome. So when there are no Thralls being converted on your Wheel of Pain, there's nothing pushing it. Okay, so before this patch, Thralls were always pushing the Wheel of Pain. You always had that sound of the Wheel of Pain going, the groaning of the Thrall that was on there. Now, when the wheel is empty or all the Thralls that are in there are converted, you will not see Thralls pushing the Wheel of Pain. It's absolutely awesome. I love this change. Not only did they do that, but when you put Thralls in there, it actually gives a visual representation of the Thrall that's in the wheel. So that Thrall that you put in there is actually pushing the wheel. So it's no longer just a basic image of just any random Thrall or a template of a Thrall. It is the actual Thrall you put in the wheel, which I suppose will be rather exciting and interesting for PvP. If people can see your wheel, then they may be more or less inclined to actually go after your wheel. Crafting fixes. Now this is absolutely amazing. They reduced the crafting time of building pieces from 5 seconds to 0.5 seconds. That's right. So in a half a second, you are going to be able to craft a foundation. Now, why is this really important? Why is this such a cool deal? First of all, we've all probably asked at one point in time for a bench to craft or building pieces. Like, let me throw all these resources into a bench and have a Thrall build that for me while I'm out and about, you know, playing the game, having fun. Because at 5 seconds to craft a foundation, you'd stand around over encumbered or walk around your base over encumbered for quite some time while you were crafting enough to build a base. So what they've done is, instead of, or maybe since they're not ready to create a bench, they've lowered that speed to 0.5 seconds, half a second, and you craft up these foundations. Now I did this on Test Live the other day and I was just blown away by how fast that stuff was spitting out. Getting into combat fixes or additions, really. So first of all, we have, it is now possible to engage in combat while swimming with one-handed weapons. This is a really great change for PvP. I don't think it should ever be a great change for PvE. I don't want to see enemies in the water. I don't want to see anything that can attack and kill you in the water. You need those places where you can just get into and get across and not have to worry about, oh, I'm going to get attacked by this, oh, I'm going to get attacked by that. And I have seen some people comment on the forums that they would really like that. Personally, I think there's plenty to fight on land in a PvE setting, that we don't need water-based enemies to be in the game. That's just my 2 cents. You can let me know what you think in the comment section below. The Red Mother should no longer push followers under the mesh with her attacks. Guys, I haven't tested this. I don't know if I want to test this. It's been one of those things that's like a long time coming, and they've said, oh, we've gotten this fixed, and it hasn't been fixed. It's gotten it fixed, it hasn't been fixed. So I'm really hoping that they have it fixed this time, but I haven't tested it, so I'm not sure. They did a rework on spiders. They should be worthier opponents. So when you're going up against spiders the next time, go in with a little bit of caution. Look for differences when you go up against them. Fixed an issue with shields. Now attacking while holding the block button results in a normal combo, which is not canceled by holding the shield button. Many of you have probably seen videos where I've shown this against the arena champion, where you could stun lock her with the endless hold your block button and attack. This is something that's been in the game for a long time. It's now out of the game. I don't know how I feel about it. I don't know. I mean, I know there was some conversation about it on PvP that it wasn't good, but it was a fun way to be able to defeat things like the arena champion in the exiled lands. However, it's really not that big of a deal. She's not that hard to beat. Nothing's all that hard to beat once you figure out how to go up against them. It is no longer possible to cancel an attack animation by equipping another item. Item swapping is enabled when an attack finishes or when movement could cancel the attack. Now, this is a good change again for PvP. I do feel like this is going to affect PvE as well. Something that I noticed was when I was finished with a combo and I tried to drink a potion, I actually had to wait a lot longer to be able to drink that potion because it starts a new animation. So it wasn't that I was trying to cancel the animation necessarily, but I was trying to get that potion running in my system, and I had to wait quite a while in my mind. I mean, really, it was probably like quarter second, half a second, but in some of those instances, a quarter second or half a second is the difference between life and death on getting that healing item in you. So I do feel like maybe there needs to be some adjustment. They said they're going to look at healing more in the future, but I feel like this cancel animation and the healing, they need to look at that together. Okay, now try to follow along with the wording on this, but Thralls will no longer immediately eat an item when it's put into their inventory. As you know, anytime you put a stack of food in your Thralls inventory, it would go down by 1 and they would eat that item. So the way it's worded now is they will now eat if they have some food that will give them the strong buff and they do not have the buff. If they have neither the weak nor the strong buff and some food that will give them the weak buff is given to them. If they do not currently have health regeneration buff, but they have any food item. So basically, if they need health and they don't have a buff, they'll eat any food item. If they need a weak buff, they'll eat a weak buff item if it's in their inventory. If they need a strong buff, they will eat a strong buff food if it's in their inventory. And it's going to go strong buff food first, right? So that's going to get priority, and then it'll go weak buff food, and then it's going to go any food item. Now, one thing you may notice with this, and I'm not sure how they've set this up, but they did it this way so that your Thrall can't get multiple buffs, okay? You're not going to get the strong buff and you're not going to get the weak buff together. They simply will not do that. So if you put pork and gruel in your Thrall's inventory, it will not get a buff from both the pork and the gruel. It's only going to take whatever the highest buff is from whatever food you put in their inventory. Situations when a Thrall will consider eating: when any of the 3 buffs expire, when new items are added to their inventory, when they lose health, all the time. Should we ever put pineapple on pizza to the game? No. So no to the pineapple on pizza in the game. It doesn't fit the lore. I'm sorry, Ignacy. It's just not something that Conan would have lying around. This is also worded really weird. When any of the 3 buffs expire. Okay, so the buff expired. We're going to look for a new buff. When new items are added to their inventory. Okay, so if there's not a buff, then new items are added. Then it decides whether it should eat it. If it doesn't, if it's got a buff and new items are added, it's going to decide not to eat it. When they lose health, yeah, obviously that's the point of putting food in there and leaving food in there, is so that they're regenerating from that food. And then all the time, I don't even understand why all the time is in there. It's a lot of information for really, hey, they're going to look to consider eating all the time. Okay, fixes to Thralls. Fix an issue where Archer, Bearer, and Orb Thrower Thralls would not perform combo attacks. Additionally, now Tier 1 through 2 Thralls will use basic combo attacks. Tier 3 and 4 will use advanced combo attacks. And right away when I was reading in the comments to these patch notes, I saw somebody say, no, that's not right. The Relic Hunter Treasure Seekers are still bugged and they're not doing full combos. Now, the Relic Hunter Treasure Seekers were bugged prior to the update 2.3, which basically bugged all the Thralls. So hopefully they've gotten the majority of the Thralls fixed, and the Relic Hunter Treasure Seekers are still just that oddity that for whatever reason, those ones don't like to do combos. Now this is probably the oddest line that I have ever read in a set of patch notes. Thralls are no longer able to break equipped weapons, and the durability stops at 0.1. Now, if you guys have been following my channel for a long time, you know that one of the test lives, in fact, the last test live that I was really active in testing and getting you guys information on, actually had it where the Thralls were losing durability on their weapons at an alarming rate, and that they would literally break their weapons. And I made a very bold statement that that absolutely could not happen in game. Now, there has been a bug at points in time where Thralls have lost durability to their equipped weapons, but it's just odd that they put this in here. Like, they don't know how to fix the bug where some Thralls are losing durability, and so the way to fix that is that if they are losing durability, it can't actually break. This is something you guys should watch for on your Thralls. See if the durability is going down. Report it to Funcom if you are seeing that. And you can let me know in the comment section of this video. Purge fixes. Whoa, guys. Been a long time since we've heard anything about purges. I'm happy to see something in the patch notes about it. So let's dive into it. Adjusted how a purge chooses its target, which should result in fewer situations where a purge fails to spawn properly. Your purge meter will no longer reset when creating a clan. This is very cool. It'll actually travel with you. Very, very cool. When leaving a clan, your purge meter will no longer be set to an effectively random value. That's very cool as well. Fix the purge update interval server setting having too significant of an effect on the purge meter fill rate. Now, I don't know whether that means you'll be able to fill your purge meter faster, or whether that's going to mean you're going to fill your purge meter slower. That's something that's going to require a lot of testing. I want to know, do you guys want me to bring back the purge tests like I was doing them before with the live streams? If you do, go ahead and whack that like button. All right, balance updates, and I'm just gonna breeze right through here, guys. So increase the speed and distance of dodge rolls. It feels really good. Check it out. Short sword significantly increased armor penetration by 100%. Basically, they doubled it. Increased the base damage by 43%. All I'm going to say on this is check out the short swords now. They're actually pretty decent. You'll definitely want to see what's going on with those. Decrease the damage of the hollowbone arrows from 23 to 15. They actually mentioned that in the live stream that they were doing, talking about where those really OP builds came from, and they mentioned a couple of arrows that they were going to bring the damage numbers down on. I think that's a good move. Another good move, the obsidian weapons are actually getting a little bit of love here. So slightly increase the armor penetration values by approximately 1.5%, increase the base damage values by approximately 18%, depending on the weapon on both of those. Now, something that I know is kind of a hot topic here is the mounted combat. Significantly reduce the damage modifiers from 1.5 to 1.1 and from 1.8 to 2, down to 1.2. So that's a pretty big change. It's definitely something that I think there needs to be a lot of feedback about coming back to Funcom on where to find the balance for mounted combat. They also removed the status effects for mounted attack, so you no longer get the bleed, the cripple, and the sunder when you are on horseback. Moving on to adjustments to ambrosia and the purified flesh. The healing values for ambrosia have been lowered to be the same as a regular food item. Added buff effects to ambrosia, 1 to strength and 1 to vitality, and purified flesh, 1 to grit and 1 to vitality. Now, what I can tell you about both of those stat increases is those will stack on top of your elixirs or your war paint or your armor, any of that stuff. It does stack on top of there. It doesn't have as long of a timer as your elixirs do, but it still does stack. Now, for those of you that use a controller like I do, here's some really cool things that they've added to controllers only. So this is going to jump over PC and go into the consoles, but like I play the game with a controller when I'm actually playing. So using the right stick on a gamepad when in the UI with multiple inventories now jumps between inventories. So if you're looting a body and use the right stick, it's going to jump between those two inventories. That is absolutely awesome. The shortcut bar assignment Radial now requires to hold open by default. All right, so let me explain how it worked before. So basically you would go in your inventory, you would then open your Radial menu, you would select an item, and then you would go over to that location you wanted it on the menu, and you would hit the interact button or the X button on PlayStation, the A button on Xbox. Now, instead of having to do that last step, you no longer have to hit the X or the A. All you have to do is highlight the item and drag it to the spot that you want it to go, and it's going to go into that spot on your Radial menu. And if you don't like that option, there's a new option in the gameplay settings to change that back so you can toggle it to the way you like it. Split item pop-up now has functionality for moving up and down in increments of 10 or 100 when using a gamepad. This is absolutely awesome. They're actually using more of the buttons on the controller to give you more quality of life options when you are playing Inventory Management 2021. Opening the inventory now automatically focuses on the search field in the crafting inventory rather than the first slot in the player's inventory. This behavior can be changed back by disabling the autofocus recipe search bar in the gameplay settings. This is one of those things that I'm definitely going to change it back to the way it was before. I want that first item in my inventory to be what is always selected, because a lot of the times I'll put my wraps in that first item and want to be able to access that quickly. And the last little bit here, a new setting in the gameplay settings for send new items to shortcut wheel. When enabled and using a gamepad, newly acquired items that can go on your shortcut wheel will automatically put there. When disabled, they will go in your inventory instead. All right, now moving away from the controller stuff, let's talk about other quality of life changes. You can now interact with doors, gates, and other items while mounted. Now, I tried this with gates and they opened right up. You have to get a little bit sideways, because if you look straight ahead, you actually access your horse's inventory. So you got to get a little bit sideways in order to make sure you have clear view of the gate or whatever you're interacting with, but it is totally doable. The other thing that they finally did, and this is like awesome, when you're dragging a thrall back to your Wheel of Pain on horseback, what you would have to do in the past is get off of your horse, and then when you get off your horse, you unequip whatever's in your hands. Then you'd have to reattach to the thrall, run up to the wheel, and interact with it. What I can tell you is you can actually interact with your Wheel of Pain from horseback. That is an amazing change, and I'm very happy to see that. And this is one that man, they should have had this going for a long time. But basically, here's what's up. added new recipes to the dryer for converting plants into seeds to help with farming sustainability. This is an absolutely amazing change. It was the hardest thing to get seeds. You had to actually go out and farm seeds. Now you can convert plants into seeds so that you can just continue farming and you don't have to be all over the map collecting seeds again. And honestly, this has a good possibility of fixing or solving the issue that the Exiled Lands map had, where it did not have Aloe across the entire map. Since Aloe is highly important for all the healing items, you really needed to be able to have access to that across the entire map. Now, with the ability to have seeds generated at your base, you won't have to traverse the map in order to get Aloe. Alright, getting into quite possibly the best quality of life changes that they've added to Conan Exiles in all the time that I've been covering Conan Exiles. So, number one, added outer face indicator to foundations and ceilings when building. And then there's this one. Added visual feedback for building stability. You can now see at a glance the structural integrity of your building before placing a piece by checking the color of the placement brush. It's absolutely awesome. This is something that is really going to help new players understand the building system and the stability system, and it's also something that's going to give quick feedback to veteran players on what's going on with their building as they're building it. I've played around with this a bit in Test Live, and I'm going to play around with it a lot more, but I really like this visual feedback, and I think it's going to make building just so much more smooth. And then the last one here has a little bit of a typo, but I'll read it the way I think it was intended. Choosing loot all when looting your corpse will now send and or automatically equip all your belongings back to where they were right before your quite possible embarrassing death. As you guys know, we call those quite possibly embarrassing deaths around here. We call those whack moments. That's just how I get down. Sometimes you gotta run back to your body and loot everything. This is a very cool feature that's just going to put your armor back on. It's going to put all your equipment right back into the slots they were in, and I think this is an amazing change. However, unfortunately, I wasn't able to capture footage of this actually working when I was doing my testing today. I did notice it work on Test Live when I was playing that yesterday, and I was also on the Isle of Sipta, so there's got to be something that either my settings aren't correct or there's some kind of bug going on with it. I'm not 100% sure. I'm not going to place blame anywhere. I just couldn't get it to work for this video. But I have seen it working, and it works absolutely amazingly. I was actually surprised because I hadn't read the patch notes for Test Live before I started playing on it, and when I died and looted my body, all the stuff was right back on my character, and I thought, well, that's interesting. That was not the way it was before, or maybe that was a bug. I checked my settings to see if I had something messed up, and it was working at that point in time. And that's all I'm going to cover in this video here, guys. I probably could have made this video much longer, like probably somewhere around 45 minutes. I've got it down under 25. So I hope this is a good, concise amount of information on the highlighted things that I thought really stood out from these patch notes. You guys let me know in the comment section below if you read the patch notes. Did I miss your favorite thing, or are you just learning about this stuff from my video? The whack moments in this video were sponsored by my legendary supporters. If you'd like to become a member, you can click the button below that says join. That'll give you all the details. And if you want to continue the fun, there's 2 videos on the screen. You can pick one of those to watch next. Please don't forget to whack the like button. And if you're new to the channel, I'd encourage you to click that subscribe button, click that bell so you get notified when I upload another video.